three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James, second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions. Cleveland!
What's up, Cavs fans? Welcome to another edition of the Block the Shot to Stop. Here with Skylar Webker, I am Kevin Lynch to talk about the rollin' Cleveland Cavaliers. After a little bit of a bumpy road to start the season, lots of injuries, they've got most of their guys back, and they are playing some ball, Skylar.
No doubt. 4-game winning streak right now, hoping to keep that going. And it's not even just the winning streak, it's the how they've been winning that's been very impressive.
For sure. And so I told you I was going to introduce kind of what I consider the trending topics with the Cavs. There's so many things and players and intricacies we can look into, but narrowing it down to three, I'm going to throw those at you, and we'll kind of use those to transition and talk into the two wins over the weekend, 148-114 over Washington, as well as the little bit closer game against the Bulls, 128-122. So to start us off, I'm going to give you the three topics. You pick which one you want to start with. The return of Darius Garland and what it's done to this team. Not only Darius's play himself, but just how he seems to have shifted everyone else into the right puzzle piece, basically. Number two, the continued emergence of Jalen Tyson. We've highlighted him a lot. Maybe I feel like we have to talk about him again. We'll try and keep it within reason, even though we're unreasonable people when it comes to our excitement for Jalen Tyson. But he continues to earn it on the floor. You know, you hear Kenny, you hear Donovan, you hear so many people talking about him. And then the third thing, maybe it's a little boring and repetitive, but I don't think it's either. Donovan Mitchell seems to continue to get better, or at least continue his flatline peak, which his peak makes him one of the best players in the world. So of those three topics, where do you want to start?
We'll start with Darius Garland because I want to be sequential in these games. Darius Garland played in the first game of the back-to-back. They're keeping his minutes restrictions just as he gets back into form from that surgically repaired toe. And that was the Darius Garland that we expect to see all year long. I mean, 28 minutes, 20 points, 9 rebounds. Woo! Or not 9 rebounds, 9 assists. Yeah. Sorry. But his shooting was good. He was 4 from 9 from the three-point line. Perfect from the free throw line. Only had two attempts there, but that was the Darius Garland. Like, when he's on the floor, it's just so much easier for everybody else involved.
Yeah, you couldn't be right. And I actually think stats for other players show the impact of Darius. And in particular, I was looking up stats for Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, the last couple of games, the two games that Darius has played versus not. Those two guys, basically 75% of their field goals in the games Darius has played were assisted. And Darius is getting his assists, but sometimes it's him breaking down the defense, swinging the ball to somebody else who then gets it inside to the guys, just getting the defense rotating, making them vulnerable, right? Mm-hmm. Previous to that, it was closer. It was barely over 50% for those guys. They were doing, frankly, a lot, especially Evan was doing a lot of work himself to get his own shot, which is fine at times. But generally, an assisted basket is just an easier one and a better shot to get than an unassisted one. So I completely agree. I mean, you saw the impact of Darius in that first game he came back last Wednesday, just from him being on the floor. And then in this Washington game, you saw the impact of him when he is playing at, the standard he has set for himself.
Yeah, and I think it's impressive, not only the shooting that he's getting, because a little over half of his shots were from the three-point line, but he was driving, he was pivoting. I mean, he was doing a lot of movement for a guy with a surgically repaired toe. Right. That is very encouraging to see, especially as he's came back earlier than we all expected. So it's great to see Darius Garland be that floor general, as far as just being the maestro of the offense, and the reason. Honestly, the reason the Cavs paid him is to do that. And it's so fun to watch. It's so great to see. And when you have those championship visions, whenever Darius Garland is on the floor.
Yeah. And I think the other thing you can look at to show Darius's impact is how how everyone's contributing. The team is more balanced from a
Mhm.
statistical perspective, from a performance perspective on the offensive end. You look at the big four on Friday night. You rattled off Darius's very great numbers: 20 points, 9 assists, 2 rebounds. uh Donovan 24, 5 and 5. Jarrett 16 points, 14 rebounds. Evan 18 points, 10 rebounds. The balance that was not there for a lot of games where they were relying on Mitchell's heroics or a huge game out of some in particular person because they couldn't, it was more they didn't have the sum of the parts basically.
Mhm.
And you saw that and the role players also kind of filling into the role. You're not gonna expect Tyrese Proctor to score 17. A lot of that was due to the blowout win and him getting a lot of time while other guys rested. But 14 out of Sam Merrill's kind of become his standard. He's right around there every
Yeah.
game. Jalen Tyson was in double digits. DeAndre Hunter scored some. You know, uh, he he is. I wish I could think of something better into the puzzle, but he is the one. When you put him into this offense, everyone else just slides over or up or down a little bit to fit right in the spot they should be in. And couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's a opportunity to kind of transition to one of the other ones. And I'll go with Donovan. Um, just continues to be phenomenal. And, they didn't need his heroics on Friday night. He was still pretty darn good. His 3-point shot continues to be. I think this is the best he's shot the ball from three in his career. And
Yeah, oh, yeah.
when you combine his best shooting ever, his best outside shooting ever, with the athleticism and explosiveness he still has to get to the basket, creates almost an unstoppable player.
I had to look at the MVP odds. He's 10th in MVP right now, which feels very, very low. He's
Yeah.
always going to be behind some of those marquee guys like
Yeah.
Wimby and Shea and stuff like that, just because of the market that he's in. But I agree with you. I think he's shooting better than ever. He's leading this team better than ever.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, how he's kind of taken it a step back kind of offensively to allow others to step up, and that's been fruitful. It was very fruitful last year.
Yeah.
And it's not saying he's slowing down offensively. I mean, he just hung 40 some against not Boston, against Philly.
Yeah.
So like he's still Donovan Mitchell. But I think the leadership that he's providing this team and the growth opportunities that he's providing this team, like as a man in business, that's a guy that I want on my team
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the MVP odds, I would have thought they would have adjusted and he would have come down to 5 or 6. 10th made sense to me a few days ago when the Cavs were struggling a little bit and the team, even with him playing as well, those awards and those play, but the team play. And the Cavs didn't look like last year's team through about the first, 6 games or so, for good reason. I would have expected it to be adjusted to, I think he has been one of the best 5 or 6 players in the league this year. I watch a lot of basketball. I don't think it's just hyperbole. I think Shea and Jokic deserve to be up there. Giannis has been absolutely as good as ever this year, which is saying something. All those guys deserve to be up there, but I don't think you could put 9 players in front of Donovan Mitchell as far as ranking the performance they've put in through, the Cavs have played 10 games. Most teams are around there. Um, and not only the performance, and I guess we'll get to the Bulls game in a second, but like the timeliness of some of this performance. That Philly game, that was a tight game that he blew open by getting hot and being unstoppable. The Bulls game, frankly, they had a little bit of an uneven performance. They looked like they're on the second night of the back-to-back and a little bit shorthanded. And him and Jalen Tyson just took over the fourth quarter and
Yeah.
allowed him to play. So not only is he putting it's one thing to put up 30 a game when your team's losing or the result is a blowout one way or the other, like it was Friday, but he seems to be very good every game and even better than that in kind of the clutch moments and the clutch times of these games.
I agree. And I think a lot of the stuff in his MVP stuff, he's always going to kind of get the short end of the stick because he has a great team around him
Yep.
versus some of these guys that are the team, like guys like Ant Edwards, who is Minnesota Timberwolves, where the Cavs aren't like that. They are a four-man squad in that department.
For sure. And I think I'll save topic 3 in Jalen Tyson for the Bulls game when we transition there in a minute because he was so valuable in that game.
Yeah.
But before we make that transition, I know this was a cup game. For people who don't know, cup standings, margin of victory can matter a lot as far as moving on. That is why it's good to get a 30-point win, 30+ point win against them. Anything else you wanted to touch on from the Wizards game, I guess, before we move on to the Bulls?
Yeah, just keeping the momentum on like cup game. Like you thought maybe Kenny would keep maybe a second unit in there, but they went to the third unit, and that third unit understood the assignment because I mean you get 10 minutes of Luke Travers and you
Mhm.
still get that 30-point margin. That's these guys understood what the game was for, and hopeful that they can maybe go a little further in the cup than previous years. I know previous years they've really focused on the end of the season thing, and I want to still keep the main thing. But to go a little further in the cup would be nice to have as well.
Completely agree with that. Okay, so we'll transition to the Bulls game. Again, this is a really exciting game. Lots of running. You could tell the Bulls strategy, and it's a strategy most of the time anyway, but they wanted to run the Cavs. They knew they were on the second night of a back-to-back. They knew they had a couple guys out of the lineup. They're playing a little bit both tired and a little bit thin. And so the Bulls tried to run the Cavs, and frankly, the Cavs were up for it and were running with them. And while they did look to get a little bit winded, particularly there in that third quarter, they really made some huge plays down the stretch to beat a Bulls team that again has been the surprise team of the year. So I'll kind of leave it open ended for you. What's I guess the number one thing you took out of this Bulls game?
The ability to finish the game and finish a quarter. For context, in this Bulls game, with a minute and 47 seconds left in the fourth quarter, the Bulls had a 90.1% win probability. So I mean, very close to being able to steal that game. And the Cavs, especially Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Tyson, who were huge in that fourth quarter, were able to really attack and get that really swing the game the completely opposite direction. I mean, looking at the win probability, it's like climbing Bulls, climbing Bulls, climbing Bulls, and then sudden drop, which
Yeah.
is the Cavs' ability to close out a close game on the second night of a back-to-back, shorthanded against the best team in the East at the moment,
Yeah.
because they are still the one seed. That's incredible. That's what you want to see out of a Cavs team all year long.
It was the will to win in this one,
Mhm.
particularly from Mitchell and Tyson there in the fourth quarter. And to put some numbers to what you're talking about, in the fourth quarter, Donovan and Jalen combined for 25 of the Cavs' 32 points. Donovan had 13 points, 2 rebounds in that fourth quarter. Jalen Tyson had 12 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, a block, a steal. They both played 10 minutes of that fourth quarter. Again, they're playing virtually the whole fourth quarter on the second end of a back-to-back. And I thought they were everywhere. I thought Mitchell controlled the game down the stretch, and I thought Jalen filled in all the pieces around him. He made himself available to hit a couple of corner threes off of Mitchell drives. He had some good cuts to the basket. I think he had an offensive rebound put back. Just like he did all the little things that added up in the stat column, while Mitchell was kind of the engine behind the comeback. And those guys are, while the whole team complements each other well with Garland coming back as we started the show with, like those two guys seem to be complementing each other incredibly well. That like when Jalen Tyson looks at Donovan and goes, "You're one of the best players in the world. Let me watch everything you do, and the little bit you don't, I'll just do that. I'll just fill in around that, basically."
I mean, this goes to your point number 3 of the continuous ascension of Jalen Tyson, not only just in the scoring department where he gave you 17, but the rebounds where he gave you 7, the assists where he gave you 3, and then I would go even further, the steals and blocks where he gave you 2 each of those. So
Yep.
he's not only like a one-trick pony, he's giving you everything you need. He's the Swiss Army knife. He will be the glue guy. He will do whatever this team needs to do to win. And we talked about it all off season and in the playoffs last year, they were missing a do anything to win dog mentality guy. And that is Jalen Iron Tyson this season. I mean, he does not want to lose. He will do whatever it takes to win.
Yes. And we've said this before, but his energy and his willingness to do a lot of that stuff, it does tend to be infectious, and contagious throughout the team, right? And so I think it's right to start and highlight those guys, but the Cavs did play really well in the first half for the most part. It was the third quarter that got away from him. So kind of to get him to that point, I thought DeAndre Hunter had his best offensive game of the year. Everybody saw the highlight of him crossing up Giddy and getting the dunk. He ended up with 29 points on 10 of 16 shooting. And the thing I want to ask you about, Skylar, it seems like he's finally getting a little bit closer to the balance. He was so heavy on 3-point shooting as like his primary offensive weapon. Like 70 to 75% of his shots were coming from threes. In this game, took 16 shots, 8 2-pointers, 8 3-pointers. I might even want him to, correct it even a little bit more than that, but it seems like he's at least starting to find a little bit of the balance in his offensive game.
I'm totally okay if half of his shots are from the 3-point, but even just watching it, not looking outside of the box score, just watching it, he was in much better of an offensive rhythm. It didn't seem like the offense kind of just died when he touched the ball. And look, even got to the line 7 times, which is great. That shows he's driving. He's getting in there when he can. He's not just the DeAndre Hunter that we saw in Atlanta, where it was sit in the corner, take a 3. That's it. That's all you got to do. So we're seeing a lot more of that versatility that we need from him, and just settling down a little bit. I know he came into camp all like the starting role's mine. I want it, like kind of hyped up, which is good. You like to have that, but settling down into, okay, I need to be here for the team versus what I need for myself. And that's what we're really starting to see with DeAndre Hunter.
Agreed. And is as important it is obviously to be the engine of the comeback that we talked about, Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Tyson. Sometimes what gets lost in the mix of a game is performances that keep the game in an attainable place, right? When you can keep a team to like a 10 or 12 point lead and not let it balloon into the 20s to where, it makes it much harder to come back. Like DeAndre had 15 points in the second half, 10 of those in the third quarter, even while the Bulls were stretching out the game. If not for that, the game could have got away from him and not allowed the opportunity for that fourth quarter comeback.
Absolutely. And there are a couple of things in this Chicago game that I didn't love.
Sure.
That we'll get into, but DeAndre Hunter really gave what the Cavs needed. And like you said, playing for the team and not his own individual accolades that he's reaching for, and keeping that starting role, or being a better 3-point shooter or anything like that. Just being what the team needs, taking a page out of Jalen Tyson's book and being whatever the team needs in whatever the moment is.
Yeah. And only other player I really think we should highlight is Evan Mobley. He did most of his scoring in the first half, but he ended up with 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. It was a game where the Bulls are one of those teams that typically play small, and Kenny chose to kind of reduce Jared Allen's minutes. He only played 24 while Evan played 34, so he was playing a lot of 5. Didn't score the ball quite as effectively in the second half, but overall, I liked his performance this game because he didn't, it's funny because you need to find the balance. I feel like in the playoffs last year, all we were saying is we need more Evan, shoot the ball more. And then, so he came into this year with this mentality, but you could tell was like forcing it a little bit. I think he's like right in that window of trying to find the balance between the two. And while he ended up with only 14 shots, I would like to see him get a little bit more than that. I thought it was a very balanced performance to where you felt his impact the whole game on the court. Even if, most of the scoring happened in the first half, and then the second half, it was more defensive rebounding that he was contributing.
Yeah. And that's what you want from Evan Mobley, is that you feel his impact through the whole game. I don't need him to score 20 in the first half, 20 in the second half. I don't need that type of consistency, because you've got a lot of guys that can score the ball, but you can't be like non-existent in games. And that's what we saw a lot in the playoffs last year, where Evan Mobley was on the floor, but it didn't impact anything. Where in the Chicago game, you felt his impact up and down from tip off to the final whistle.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, wrapping up these two games, let's each do an abbreviated. What's the thing you like the most? What's the thing that the good and the bad? What's the thing that maybe you didn't like from this weekend, despite the two wins?
I'll say I'm going to look at the Chicago game and start with my bad. I kind of
Mhm.
have two bads.
Okay.
You can't let Chicago out rebound you when you
Yep.
have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley.
Yep.
They out rebounded you by 10. Evan Mobley gave you the best effort of what do you get?
Eight.
Eight.
Eight. He had eight. Yeah.
But Jared Allen only getting 3, while Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Tyson got 6 and 7. So you can't let that team out rebound you. And then the off the bench scoring was pretty much non-existent when it
Yeah.
came to that Chicago game.
Yep. Nope. Those are two very good points. The rebounding was one of the ones I was going to highlight, so I'll pivot to the other one. I do think this team, despite as well as they played and as many points as they played, the thing that's missing or not as good last year to this year is the 3-point shooting. They were only about 37% in those two games, which is league average. And last year they were the
Mhm.
best 3-point shooting team in the league. So even when the offense is going much better, the 3-point shooting isn't close to where the standard they set for themselves for this year. I do think that'll come, and the more Darius plays, he gets people better shots. Merrill missing a few games certainly doesn't help the quality of 3-point shooting that the Cavs get. But that is one thing I'm going to look out for is with Darius coming back, can the ball movement get closer to where it was last year and lead to just that split second extra of time for a shooter to hit shots? So that's the one thing I'd love to see this team. They trended around 40% from three as a team the whole year last year. Actually, we're above that for a good portion of the year. So I would like to see if, as well as the offense is going now, if they get the 3-point shooting, kind of to where they were last year, just that, few percentage points higher. That's like 2 or 3 misses a game that turn into makes. Then this offense is going to get back to just the unstoppable force it was last year.
I agree. And I think more time this team gets together, obviously they're restricting minutes for Lonzo, they're restricting minutes for Darius Garland. You still have Sam Merrill, who's coming off of that hip issue. You have Jared Allen playing through a broken finger. You still don't have Max Strus. I think once you get some more continuity with a lot of these guys, the better. And you hope that you're not waiting until like April to have the opportunity to have that continuity. The Cavs were really blessed last year in the health department until the end.
Yep.
So you hope that they can find a good rhythm with each other in the short amount of time that they're going to have a full roster.
Absolutely. We went over a lot of the good. I mean, the Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Tyson's play. My good, even though we've already highlighted, just to reiterate, is getting Darius Garland back in the lineup, and particularly seeing him Friday night play the way Darius plays, and
Mhm.
how good the team looks reinserting him. Just immediately, he's back on the floor. The offense is so much better and flows so much better. Other than the stuff we highlighted, any other goods that you wanted to highlight coming out of this weekend?
Maybe not a good, but can't wait for is to see when you can have Darius Garland and Lonzo Ball
Mm,
running the first unit and second unit offensive just to perfection. We've talked about Darius Garland's offensive proficiency, but he's really valuable in how he moves an offense and orchestrates an offense. We talked about kind of the same thing with Lonzo Ball coming off that second unit. So I can't wait to see where like the Cavs offensive proficiency is just consistent from start to finish.
yep.
That's going to be very exciting.
Agreed. All right. Well, we're going to go into what I think is a very weird scheduling quirk that the Cavs have here the next few days. They're playing the Miami Heat in Miami both Monday and Wednesday. Apparently, the NBA knew winter was starting in Cleveland and wanted to give the Cavs a nice little 3-day Miami vacation to where they're literally just hanging out there the whole first half of the week to wait to play that second game. I don't know how much you've watched the Heat this year. I think they've been a little bit better than people thought. You know, I'm actually trying to find the news because I knew Bam Adebayo limped off the court the other night, but I did not get an update as to if he what his availability is going to be for these couple of games. They have Nikola Jovic is starting and starting to play a little bit better. I think he had his career high in points a couple nights ago. They have Norman Powell out now, who's an awesome offensive player. Tyler Hero is injured and out. If anybody doesn't watch Miami, so Darius Garland's not going to get to pick on him defensively like he liked to in the playoffs last year. But when you think of this scheduling, as I called it, quirk, where they're going to play Miami 2 out of 3 days in Miami. What, I guess, are you looking for? What do you think of the matchup or just the Heat or the Cavs in general, like seeing these next couple days?
I think the game one should belong to the Cavs. I'm looking at the injury report. Bam is scheduled to be out.
Yeah.
Terry Rozier is scheduled to be out. and Tyler Hero is scheduled to be out. So
what's wrong with Terry Rozier?
Oh, you didn't hear?
Yeah, probably. Let's leave that one right there. We're not the
FBI.
I kind of figured that. I saw Bam limp off, but I was kind of out of pocket at a work conference this weekend, so I didn't really know what was going on with him. So without him, I would think the Cavs should have an advantage. And Bam always plays really well against the Cavs. I remember last year he had a couple of awesome games against them in the regular season, and then obviously the Cavs controlled that playoff series against Miami pretty well. Is there any reason we can't make this winning streak 5 and then 6 here over the next few days and get a nice tan while we do it?
I think 6 would be hard. Just having that time in Miami. Obviously, these players are human. They're gonna experience Miami. So they might have a scheduled loss there on the second half of this back to 2 games in Miami. But I expect the first game to go to Cleveland. I do expect this Miami team to be better than last year, to be honest, just because they don't have the Jimmy Butler noise going on. Yeah. So I think this team is going to be a little more focused than they were last year. Right now, the matchup is a 61% Cleveland win. So it's not like scheduled to be a blowout or anything like that. They have the Heat culture, which is, I would give them credit. They always stay competitive no matter who's in that roster spot. So
yeah, they do. They're a team. Miami is always a hard place to play, both because of Heat culture and how much NBA players love Miami. I think it's their favorite spot. I don't see any reason why they can't win both these games. You go back to the playoff series last year. The Cavs match up with this team incredibly well, and that's even with Bam and Hero in the lineup. Without the two of them, I don't see any reason why they can't take care of business these couple of games, and hopefully in a comfortable way to where they don't even necessarily have to rest guys full games because they're only playing them 20-25 minutes a game. I think that was the secret sauce from last year, right? Is they didn't have to sit guys tons of games because their minutes were so controlled, both because of the way Kenny did the rotation and because they had so many, lopsided victories at the first half of the season. So who knows? There's always, it can always be a tough place to play in Miami, and the Cavs could certainly throw up a stinker after being in Miami for 3 days, but I think this is a great opportunity to extend the winning streak and to really get this momentum rolling here in Cleveland.
I agree. I think they have the players to do it. I think they're very focused this year. I think a lot of these guys have a bad taste in their mouth just with how it ended last year, and want to do all they can to show that they belong in the finals. Show that they're growing, they're ascending, that you can't stop them. I think particularly Donovan Mitchell feels that way. And it seems like everybody else is rallying around that kind of feeling as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to leave it for Cavs talk. This being, even though we're recording on Monday morning, this is our Sunday episode. So we like to close the show with our news segment. One nice thing. This is just basically a playoff. Most of the things you see on the internet are all bad and doomsday and everything. So we like to share one, nice experience we had, one story we heard about, anything like that. So Skylar, I'll give you the floor. Give me one nice thing.
I'm gonna with the snowfall. So here in Ohio, we had a good snowfall, and even in Chicago, you guys had a good
Yeah.
snowfall.
Yeah.
First snowfall of the year. It's always just good feelings where we're from, and getting to go outside, even though it was kind of a bit of a dusting. Take the kid outside, build snowman, have fun with it. Um, I don't know, just kind of the break of, like you said, all of the stuff we see online, all the stuff going on in the country right now. So it feels good to have that escapism, I would say. Um, and just getting outside, touching grass, touching snow, like removal from constant communication and internet is has been really fun.
Yeah, no, it's a great call. Mine was from this weekend. I was at work conference. Actually, took me to Nashville, where I used to live up until a year ago, and I am one who's not a huge fan of what the Nashville Broadway downtown scene has become. It's just become like it's corporate country, is what the locals call it. Like these huge VP firms, buy this big building, slap a country music's name on it, and make it.
Mhm.
They're all cookie cutter, right? But like kind of like a win for the little guy and tradition and character. We went to one of those, which I won't name because I don't want to start any like country wars against me. And it was not a great it was not a great energy level. It was, everyone was getting tired. And I said, like, look, right next door is one of the very few old school Nashville places that's been around forever. It'll be a different kind of experience. And so we went there. This bar is called Nudies, and was an absolute awesome time. We ended up the same guy sung in both the opening band and the headline band. So he was there for like 8 hours. You're giving him lots of breaks,
Wow.
but he ended up taking a break, and I was talking to him, and he said, he's like, there's only 3 bars in all of downtown Nashville that are owned by Nashville people. Everything else has become corporate and taken over, and this is one of them. He's like, so to make my living, I got to do 8 hours, 8 hours at this one bar that will still have us and still, pay us well. And I thought, and they put on such an incredible performance, playing a lot of like just like hard rock and emo and punk classics from the 90s and 2000s that like we all enjoyed so much. And it just kind of shout out to the people who are hanging on in this economy and society to doing things the way, kind of keeping tradition, keeping trying to keep some authenticity to things like live music, because live music, when it's done right, it can be one of the most just adrenaline experiences you have. And so shout out to all of them. Maybe I'll put the band. I'm missing the band's name off the top of my head, but maybe I'll put it in the credits or something, or make a clip for them. But really appreciate. I told them when I was finally leaving, I stayed out way too late. I was like, thank you for sharing your art with me, because they actually were just playing their authentic hearts out, and it was a really incredible experience.
Dude, that's awesome. We live in a area that's all small business. Like they
Mhm.
don't allow chains or anything in our downtown, which is very great. And we love small business, small artists,
Yeah.
small everything. So that's awesome. That's awesome to hear that they're still fighting the good fight out there in Nashville.
Yeah. Even with the odds stacked against them. So for that, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Please, as always, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. The audio versions, we're on the YouTubes, we're on everything. We've seen some tick up in the subscriptions, so we certainly thank everybody and welcome everybody that's new to the show. We're on all the social medias. We have a new TikTok account. So if you find the old one, it'll direct you to the new one. So would really appreciate everybody following us there. We'll get out some clips for this episode here over the next couple days, and I think we're gonna record Thursday morning instead of Wednesday night. We'll put that on the socials though, and kind of do a review of these 2 games in Miami, and then what's coming up for the Cavs. So hopefully they keep this rolling. So for Skylar Webker, I am Kevin Lynch. Thank you so much for tuning into the Block to Shot to Stop. And as I as I get the outro song up, I'll just keep talking. And all right, as always,
Go Cavs.